This video has been a long time in the making, mainly because I've been out of state working, but we are finally back home, and that really only means one thing. And yeah, as you saw in those last clips, we might have already done some stuff to it, like putting in a new radio, sanding and priming the front fenders. And yeah, I know you guys saw it, we finally got the wing mounted. Now the mounting of the wing wasn't perfect because there are still gaps, as you can see right here, and right here as well. Now for the first time having mounted a wing, I think I didn't do too bad. Now as cool as the wing is, that's not the topic of today's video, because that honor belongs to these two pieces up front, being the front bumper and the hood. Now seeing how we already have the front fenders sanded and primed, I think we ought to get to the rest of the front end, because the sooner we do that, the sooner we can get to the rest of the car. Alright, now with that being said, let's go ahead and get the car down to the garage, get the front bumper off, get it prepped and sprayed. Now the process of getting the front bumper off is actually relatively simple. Just a few nuts and bolts that connect it to the fenders here, and then just some M6 bolts up front, which usually are plastic clips, but I opted into putting in rivets because I think bolting it down holds it a lot better. Now we just take the bumper from here, bring it inside, put it on these sawhorses, and sand away. Now admittedly I already have hit it with some sandpaper a few times already, but I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a bit of a finer grit this time to really kind of smooth it out. But after that, I think we're going to go ahead and clean it up and then hit it with some primer. We got our 600 grit here. We're going to go ahead and hit it one more time, clean it up, and spray it. Now, I've never done any kind of bodywork before, so I'm probably going to do a lot of stuff wrong, so bear with me here. But if you guys have any tips or tricks, or if you want to just point something out that I was doing that was incorrect, please let me know in the comments, because that definitely will help me out. And then here we're just using a mixture of alcohol and water to be able to get this bumper as clean as we possibly can before we spray it. Well, now that it's all cleaned up, I guess we go ahead and just hang it up and spray it. And then here's what I'm using. Is it optimal? No. But then again, is any of this? Yep, you guys saw that correctly. We're using the all glorious rattle can. But like I said before, this isn't the most optimal solution in the world, seeing as to how I don't have a spray gun set up, as the average person typically won't. But this is what we have to work with, so that's what I'm using. But with that being said, rattle cans actually can produce a pretty good finish, but that's assuming if they are in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing. And unfortunately for these cans, they are in no such hands. Now that right there is pretty bad, but we still have 1 to 2 more coats to do, so hopefully it doesn't turn out that bad. But then again, this is only primer, so it's not supposed to be perfect. Yep, and now we get to take a 10-minute break to let it dry before we hit it with our second coat. Now one thing that I will say is that the first can that I used on the bumper had a flat spray pattern, which is what you'll typically find on a spray gun. And these are extremely useful because they help you get a more even coat when you spray, and they help you minimize the amount of overspray that you get as well. Now the can that you see me using here and throughout the rest of this video are a full cone spray pattern. Now I didn't really like using these as much because I felt like I couldn't really get an even coat, which is why I probably ended up with a ton of overspray that I had to go back and sand down later on. So for me personally, I much prefer the flat spray pattern, as I suspect most people probably do. Now here we were pretty much losing all daylight, so we finished up this last coat, let it sit overnight, and then we came back to check it in the morning. It's not very good. But being completely honest though, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, yes, the coats are very uneven, the surface is still very rough, and there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of imperfections still. Now we're not really going to worry about this right now because we're going to have to circle back to all of these panels anyways before we either apply our wrap or our paint, depending on which route we go, to do final touch-ups to really get all of these panels dialed in and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and move this aside, and it's time to really get our hands dirty. And the reason I say that is because both that bumper and these fenders have never been painted previously. So all I really had to do was scuff them up, clean them off, and spray them. Relatively simple, but the same cannot be said for the rest of the car. Except for the wing. That's a different story, but that has its own problems that we're going to have to deal with whenever we get to it. So without any further stalling, the next step, the hood. Now firstly, we are going to remove both of the headlights and the fenders so that way we don't accidentally hit those with the sander, because we are going to sand down the hood while it's still on the car. Now this part was absolutely gruesome because all of those little chips that you see go all the way down to bare metal. So I pretty much had to sand a quarter of this hood all the way down. And this part made it take what felt like forever. Now thank God I had this electric sander on hand, because if I didn't, this probably would have taken me 15 years to get down. Now unfortunately this day I did get a late start, so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but the next day we definitely made up for that. Now by this point, after I got the front end of the hood completely sanded down, all I really had to do was just go into each of these individual rock chips, sand them down to bare metal, feather them all out, and then just hit the hood one last time for a good even surface. And whilst I was finishing sanding up the hood, my father came out to give me a hand, and he started on the process of sanding down the outside A-pillar trim, which in the true fashion of a 23-year-old car at this point, did indeed break in the process of removing it. But don't worry, I did later fix it with some JB Weld. On the back of it, not the front, don't worry. And after I get the rest of the hood sanded down, we can finally go ahead and clean it off so we can hang it up and finally spray it. Yep, this is the can that I'm not really a big fan of. And before I even realized that I didn't really like these, I had already went and ordered a whole nother case of them. Yeah, what a great decision by me. And yeah, the only thing that's really holding up this hood right here are two metal clothes hangers. And I was actually quite pleasantly surprised how well they worked for this too. And yep, he couldn't help but get his hands on the rattle cans. But he's gonna help us sorta kinda even out the coat on the hood. Well, as much as you can anyways. And as we finish getting the coat as even as we can then move on to the next and hopefully final steps, at least for now. Yeah, I'm going to take back what I said a while ago. Now, we're not really going to worry about this right now, because yeah, we are going to worry about that right now. And by this point in the process, all we really have to do is just sand down all of the overspray that we got, smooth out the surface as best as we possibly can, clean it all off, and then set it aside. And then as we finish up on the hood, hitting all the finer spots, we can finally take the hood, set it aside, and then get to the bumper. And then for obvious reasons, the bumper took a lot longer to do than the hood because you had to get into all the curves and the contours of the actual surface itself, which is easier said than done, but still a very tedious process. And then as we start to finish up with the bumper here, I just want to reiterate, I know none of this is going to be perfect, and that's not really the goal. I just want to bring this car back to life one step at a time, and maybe learn some new skills on the way, and also share my journey with you guys as well. Alright, and with the bumper and the hood finally finished, at least for now, because we still have a lot that we need to do to them, but I think at the risk of making this video a little bit too long, I think I'm going to end things here. But if you guys want to see the rest of this process, definitely stick around, because believe me, there is a lot to do. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.